Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
Hello and thanks for staying with us. And if you're just joining in, this is Enterprise Morning on Enterprise TV, the Christmas episode. Former Governor Atahiru Bafarawa of Sokoto State has backed what he called the good work of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but also put a caveat saying it will be disastrous if the current president doesn't investigate his predecessor. He argued that much of the rot in the government today was created by former President Buhari and that his term in office must be brought into the spotlight because, according to Bafarawa, there was more corruption in Buhari's government than in Jonathan's, which Buhari probed. To have this conversation with us this morning, I have Barrister Tunji Abdul Hamid. Thank you so very much, sir, for having us. And Mr. Sheson Okunade. He is a public affairs analyst. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning.
Happy holidays to both of you.
Thank you for having me here, and Merry Christmas to Christians and the world that we are celebrating today.
And possibly give an extension that is a celebration for all.
For all, exactly. Exactly. All right, so gentlemen, let's go into the crux of the matter, and that is about whether Buhari should be probed or not. So the question is, do we think Buhari should be probed in the first place? Let me start with you, Barrister Tunji Abdul Hamid.
For me, I think it should not be a matter of whether they should be or they should not be. What is the essence of probe? The probe is to investigate and interrogate whether there's any thing that has been done that is not in line with the law, or whether there's any corruption practice that has been carried out. So if you believe, it's not about that thinking. It's about whether does anything exist to suggest that there is need for probe.
Okay, so what you're talking about is evidence, if there are evidence.
No, not even evidence in law. If you suggest that, if you are thinking that, look, this thing ought not to have been done this way. This thing ought not have been done that way. And then you are suspecting that something bad has been done.
Okay.
You investigate. If you believe something that has been done are not properly done. For instance, they are talking about ways and means or whatever. And then I think there's no way you can investigate that kind of a thing without the former president being involved in it. You are talking about the report that we are hearing now, this Obasi report regarding the new Naira note reduction.
Yeah.
There's no way you go away with that investigation without the president being involved. There are so many, there's no way you go with the issue of humanitarian, the sharing of money. While we're during COVID and after COVID, by the humanitarian minister, there's no way you want to investigate the here in Nigeria or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Without you, because the box was on the table of the president. These people will tell you we have an approval. In fact, in the case of Emefiele regarding Naira design, the president came out boldly, openly, to say, I approve it. So there is no way you want to convict Emefiele, or you want to take any proper action against Emefiele, or you want to do a proper investigation against Emefiele without the former president being involved. But unfortunately, in this part of the country, it appeared that this unwritten agreement or law that former presidents cannot be probed or they should not be probed. And there are no reason why most of them are doing that. Because if you probe me today now, you are setting trap for yourself. When you leave tomorrow, the people coming behind you also probe you. But if you refuse to probe the one after you, before you, the one coming after you may not also think in that manner. I think that's what they are trying to do to save themselves, put themselves in a safe situation. So for me, I want to agree that, look, not only the former president, anyone in government that has been found to have done something that is not proper, or there is any suspicion of any commission of crime from any quarter, those quarters should be investigated. And then if there's anything, prima facie case against them, they should be taken to court. So there's nothing bad in investigating anybody, whether you're a former president, whether you're a former minister, whether you're a former governor. Then most times in Nigeria, even the person that is talking, Atahiru Bafarawa, when he came into power office as a governor, did he probe anybody before that was there before him? Did he do anything that? Even if he did, what was the result? not what happened the other time. That's why I mean sometimes this issue of probing, investigation or whatever, I'm not too enticed about it, because at the end of the day, you will not see anything. It will just be drama. So but there's something bad in doing that. And there's no law which says a former president cannot be probed.
Okay. There are issues bordering around, whether they should be probed or whether they should not be probed. But let's go into the centerpiece of the whole discourse here, with your experience as an accountant. My question is this: why do we even have such leakages in the first place? How do we get to that point where there are leakages in the first place, in spite of the many bottlenecks that had already been created by the government to checkmate that?
Yeah, sincerely speaking, we are where we are today because of the failure of the system that is actually been there. I will always say, through my friend, we have fantastic policy as far as this country is concerned. Our major concern is implementation. You see, for every agency and parastatals, there are people we call internal control person, like an auditor, and their work majorly is to actually scrutinize. If you go to private sector, there is no how a managing director will give experts approval without carrying the internal auditor or the auditor of that person, of that organization along. And the implication is that there are punishment. See, in the private sector, if your case is actually reported to maybe your institutes or professional body that you represent, there are disciplinary action. And when you look at what it actually costs you to get to where you are, you think twice. And that's why you see there are little sanity in the private sector compared to when you have it in the public sector. By and large, you discover that Auditor General's office had to checkmate the activity of what is going on. And what do? You vet some of those things to actually ask questions on what are actually happening. But what we've seen is that there are no system in place. Most of the time, people do what they actually feel they need to do because they know there is no punishment to it. You ask yourself the question, how can you actually verify there is misappropriation of funds, and you're asking for plea bargaining? Plea bargaining of somebody having 1 billion and you're asking him to return 100 million. What happens to the 900 million? He said no. So it's to me, it's like an encouragement to say the bigger you are able to steal the fund and be able to have a buy-in of other people, the much more better for you. So as far as I'm concerned, why we are where we are today is because of the system failure. And most of the time, myself and my friend, we always have that issue. If we are able to bring to justice that this person, these are evidences that there is misappropriation of funds, we cannot be a judge in our own case. We hand it over to the lawyers. How much of it has the third arm of the government, which is the judiciary, been able to do to make sure that we bring some of these people to justice? The other time, the chief of defense staff was coming out to say even their own personnel are actually being threatened. I looked at the video that went viral. Aside misappropriation of funds, you can see a criminal, talking to an officer that this is Nigeria. If I come and 1 year I go stay inside this place. If I come and you and your family are not safe, that's on its own corruption. In fact, the spite of that word should make that man not to see the light of the day. But what do we say? Most of the time, I'm always being checked by my learned colleague, who will tell you that the law is not like that. You must give the person fair hearing. Even when I've seen that this is somebody coming out in the public to say, I will come back for you. This is Nigeria. I will only be there for 6 months. I will come out. And it's because they have seen instances that they will tell you that the case before them is on, there is nothing to substantiate what you are bringing, that the man should just go back to the street and start carrying out this. So how do you guarantee the safety of those people? So aside that you can identify issues from our own perspective, there are people that are saddled with the responsibility to punish. You see, until people like me, we said, we've had it on different fora, that for me, I want to go the route of the Asian countries, where capital punishment is what will happen. You steal our money because you have killed us. When you misappropriate funds that is meant for humanitarian, like we had during the last regime that we are referring to, lot of money are being shared, but people are dying. It was under that administration we have the multi-dimensional poverty level, saying that we have over 100 million people, below the poverty level stage, and we are saying that this money has actually been given. Even this new administration, I've been asking myself question. You said you are actually giving people money. We have said it. What we accountants rely on mostly is data.
Okay.
Can you give us verifiable data where I can go either of, you see, it's a small village now. IT has actually simplified the issue. Where you can go, if they say they are giving Abdulhamid palliative, I can be able to pick up call as a citizen of this country, verify to say, okay, indeed, I've been asking myself question, all the palliative that is being shared, I have not seen people in my locality that I know needs those palliative that have gotten any. And you ask yourself, there are so much billions are actually being. So most of the time when you hear that certain things are to be done by the government, you ask yourself, this is another avenue to enrich certain set of people. And it's because we have not in any way, I would say in any way, I have not seen anyone behind the bar for actually misappropriating our funds. The last time the man from the East, Oji, who is, I think is the Senate now,
yes,
after several things, and some of us will always come from the perspective of finance, time value of money. As at 8 years ago, you stole 10 million. Is 10 million the same thing? And okay, alleged. These are issues that we all got. Alleged to have stolen 10 million. And we are bringing it before the court to say these are evidence. And we can even see that there are no developmental projects that was carried out. And the money is not available.
Yes.
And we come up and say, is alleged, and there is nothing to substantiate what you have. So the man can go back home and enjoy the money. These are part of the issues that we have. And because there is no serious punishment for some of the people that are perpetrating this ill against our economy, against humanity, you discover that 5-10 people started these acts of just let's misappropriate the fund, nothing will happen. And it has graduated to 1,000 as we speak. Corruption has actually perpetrated into homes that you will see a child looking for a way to even cheat the father. Have we not heard of issues where a son will look at him going around to kidnap the father because the father is not giving him money? How do you adjust that? So it's because we have not nipped it in the bud. We go around, celebrate some of these people who allegedly has picked our money, so that I will use the word of my learned consider colleague to say who has allegedly, allegedly, picked up our money. Look at Ibori, look at Desiani. These are people that are very, there are instances that you can say some of the things. Are you aware that up till now, we have not brought anyone to justice on the issue of non-functioning of our refinery? That year in, year out, there are turnaround maintenance. Even people are getting salary for not working. How do you manage that? So until we are serious about it, you see, Donald Trump of US, we have made mess of US. But the only thing that saved that country as a nation is that there is a system work. There's a system work. Each time he tries to carry, it's not about the individual, whether you are the one in position. There is a system. So you can even bring a dummy person. All he needs to do is to read that thing. But when you are coming, you are telling the person that, please, this is what the book says. What does the book say as per we, the country, as per us, as a nation? And that's the problem I have. You see, when it comes to probing, which we will call investigation, I can tell you, the more you look, the less you see. No. I consider it as even waste of time and resources. I would rather prefer that we put a check, that you do not even carry out the act, because I have not seen any. My learned colleague will always come to say it's alleged, it's alleged, it's alleged. And because it's alleged, it will continue to be allegation against that person, and we see more of that ill being perpetrated, affecting average Nigerian that they are promised that they are there to serve.
Now, my question is this, just like you rightly said, the judiciary will say alleged, alleged, alleged. But I know too well that they equally base whatever findings they carry out in accordance to evidence provided. My question now is, as an accountant, as an experienced one in that, how do you think private individuals can come in to help bring most of these issues to the front burner? For a good example, we have institutions like a budget, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes. And there was this gentleman that equally created an NGO in Ondo State that was in charge of forensics that found out that the signatures of Akeredolu was forged, and that is how we knew. Now, my question is, isn't it possible for us to have individual organizations, NGOs, that would ensure that there are evidences provided to ensure that these people are prosecuted in the court of law?
I have to state this first, that you ask yourself, what is the guarantee of your life if some of those things are revealed out to the public? The people we are actually talking about are high and mighty, that if certain revelations are made and they get to know, you might not see the light of the day the next day. And you start asking yourself questions. You just say it's an accidental death. Somebody that slept without anything happening, and this money is nowhere to be found. And that takes me to the act of whistleblowing that we had during Kenya, Oshun, and the likes. How much of it has it worked? Because when issues like this happen, is for you to protect, and you that you are blowing the whistle knows that you are protected. Sincerely speaking, the lawyers have actually put things in place to protect the whistleblower. Are they being protected? The answer is no. You just discover that even in your own local area, you go and report someone that you know is a criminal to the law enforcement agency. How do they protect that information the way it should be protected? That is where the problem actually starts from. So when you have some of this information, you ask yourself, is Nigeria worth dying for? Because of the greedy nature of the so-called leaders and politicians, thinking that you are unraveling certain things that should not be in the public space because you're doing your job. So I will go back to say, fine, we must have a protection for people that there are a lot of people who has, facts to share. But if you are a man, I'm sure your wife, when you are discussing maybe with your wife or with someone, they ask you, are you ready to finish this fight you are about to start? Do you think Nigeria is worth dying for? And that is why we have seen instances where issues that should have been nipped at the bud is actually being overlooked. Not because the person do not know what to do or what to say or how to act, but is just afraid. You cannot compare what happens in the public space, public service, with the private sector. Even though there can be threats, you can say you will sack me, but we can follow it to later. And we've seen instances where management staff have sacked people unjustly, for 2-3 years and been reinstated back, pay back his salary, because there is a control mechanism that is checking the activity of that organization. But you ask yourself the question, do we have that in the public service? Where is EFCC? EFCC, where the hunter is being hunted. Every EFCC chairman that leaves the office, we must have something running after them. Shady deals, living unceremoniously, even being indicted, being alleged of misappropriation of the funds that are being actually recouped from those that have stolen it. So how do you do that? Where do we have ICPC? These are government agencies that should push searchlight into some of the things being raised by budget, by SERAP, by all other things. But how much work are they doing? It's about how much can I gain for myself? And just go, and I know in the next few they will retire me. I will keep quiet. I think that is the major area where we are having problem that needs to be worked on.
Now let's talk about the probing, itself, and ask the vital question here. Do you think it's possible? The first question is: do you think it's possible to have Buhari probed? And what do you think could be the likely repercussion, if that is even feasible, in the first place for the regime of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu?
No, let me start from there. There is nothing possible, there's nothing that makes it impossible to probe anybody. Nobody's above the law in this country. Only that we have seen a situation whereby those in government make certain people above the law. But by our law, nobody's above the law. So whether you are a former president or a current president, the only person that those who are exempted from being punished or from being not even investigated, from being punished or from being asked to face the law are those, the governor, the deputy governor, the president, the vice president. They have immunity.
The immunity.
So once they're out of government, they can be probed. So whether you are a president, what you are a former president or what, does not confirm any immunity on you. So you can't be investigated. There's nothing impossible in that one. Let me answer some of the, or address some of the issues raised by my colleague. You see, the issue of it's that simple. When we look at the issue from the periphery and say, once this one is alleged, he must be sentenced or something must happen against to him. In that situation, wrong people will be taken to will be jailed, and people who are even the right people may not even be taken to court or may not be jailed. So in other words, once you are in government and you see me as a threat, you can just bring one allegation against me. And since they say once you are alleged or something, you must be taken to, you must be convicted or dead. Because if you're looking at the way he's talking about, our law says everybody is presumed innocent until the contrary is. That's why we say whenever anybody is alleged, we say anybody is a charged court, we say it's an allegation until it's proved. Otherwise, if we are not looking at that law, the president or our president today probably may not be will be out of office. But there are a lot of allegations against him. There's allegation of what's it called? Of manipulation of results. There is certificate of forgery. There's allegation of being convicted at a particular country or so for narcotic whatever. Yeah. There are so many allegations. So if you are looking at, once you are alleged, we should see you as you are already guilty. Then everybody will once the allegation is made, the president, if I look at that in that line, the president today, who is our president today, will not be in office because those allegations. So the point is this: it's not about the courts. Most time we talk about court not convicting them. No, we need to understand the stages. You hand over case to court, not just giving it to court and say, court, I take over and start investigating. No, before you go to court, you must have your facts. You must have your evidence. In other words, those who are supposed to investigate must have done their proper investigation and must have their paper in their hands, to the evidence, materials to support it. Then what do we see in our country? We see people who will not investigate. They will even arrest you first and start looking for evidence from you before they even do anything. So they will not take you to court. When they get to court, there will be a change of story because they don't have it. They are not well prepared. You can see Emefiele. Initially, when he wanted to arrest him, what were we hearing? We were hearing the fact that he said ammunition or something.
Yeah.
Then when Emefiele was arrested, what did they say? They said no, it is an issue of corruption. That shows that there was no proper investigation. There was no proper evidence, and that's why this Obasi's report, whatever, I won't be surprised.
Yes, because already he is saying that he is not. That he is not.
There are even the report. There are things that are conflicting. They are not even in line with what we have seen. Because the issue of printing of money without approval or whatever, how can that be?
The president.
When the president came out openly and said I approved it, and they were talking about Sabi or whatever. Is Sabi an officer? Is it the president? Is there anything that it was approved by Sabi? How can it be? It's an insult on us to say. And you see, my problem is this: by the time when people were talking at that time, saying this president, as President Buhari, was not in charge of his administration, people was those who are loyal, those who are saying it today, who are condemning it today, who are saying certain people who are the one in charge at that time. They were defending the issue. They were saying, no, the president is in charge. He knows what he's doing. He's the one, this and that. They were doing all those things. Those who are accusing the past administration of bad deeds are those who are defending him now. But today they were the ones saying. So people raised that issue, that this president seemed not to be in charge of the administration. The people did not allow. They said they were opposition. They were trying to bring him down. This and that. So until we have that sincerity on the part of all of us, that's when we get it right. People who support anything just because they want to achieve something. People who support anything just because they are benefiting from it. So until we all have that mindset of that, look, whether or not you are my family, once you have done something that is not in line with the law, we must expose you. That's why we get it right. So for me, there is nothing impossible to probe anybody. Nobody is above the law, except you have immunity. If you don't have immunity, you can be investigated, you can be prosecuted. But in our country, certain people are seen as above the law, and that's why it may be, I may not be able to see. I will not be expecting that the president, the former president, will be investigated. But for me, if any investigation that does not require or call the former president may not be conclusive for me, because one of these things was said to have been approved by him. So if you approve anything, and I based on that approval, I carry out that responsibility. I should not be held responsible for doing what I'm ordered to do. If you don't know, the ministers are agents of the president. So he gives them what to do. He asks them what to do. So once he approved that anything, whatever it was wrongly done or rightly done, you must be held responsible. That's what they call vicarious liability. You are the one that gave them that approval. So if you are able to prove that approval, then there is no. And you see, we are in a country whereby once you commit crime and you are in line with the government in power, you are seen as you're seen to be forgiven. Look at during Buhari when he came in, Olusegun was going to court from one court to another. Today, he's not a free man. In fact, he's now preparing to join APC. The same APC that was dragging him. They were dragging him to say he's a correct man. If I tell you Disastrous has been in country, he didn't run away. Today, his case will have been forgotten.
True, very true.
She will have joined the APC, and then her sin will have been forgotten. And that will be all. So for me, that is the reason why things are like this. We play politics with everything. We are not sincere. We don't have the interest of the nation at heart, and we do it in the way that is not in line with the law.
Now, in 1 minute, I would love to ask you, how do we separate, possibly, if it's possible, how do we separate issues of politically motivated probing as against doing it the right way?
Yeah, well, it's clear. There are laws that actually guide some of the things that we are doing. And I will have this to say. I think our value proposition has actually gone off radar.
Okay.
There is no value that is attributable to anything. This is an era where we now celebrate money. Once you have money, you are above the law, you can do anything. And it cut across, whether in the family, whether in the religious houses. Once you have money, nobody cares about some of the things you're doing. But we need to go back to the drawing board. These are periods where while we are growing up, value proposition, you want to protect the name of your family, and you are ashamed certain things are attached to you.
True.
So how do you manage a situation where a mother that gave birth to a child voluntarily is asking the child to go and be learning things from internet fraudsters because all he wants is money? Is to tell you that our value has actually degraded to the point where all we know is money. So we must go back to that value proposition. With that, you'll be able to have proper extension when issues are raised. Even when you are politically motivated behind the scene, people will tell you this is the thing that we need to do. I've always been saying it. There are what we call conscience. We've gone to win that. Our conscience is no longer functioning because there is no value whatever to it. I can tell you a lot of people will see billions of naira that are skilled even the citizen. When he comes back and builds maybe one or two things for them, they will be the ones celebrating. You heard what my friend said. If Disastrous has been in this country, I won't want to say APC. Any ruling party that you are there and you are able to romance them, you get their favor. Because you discover that they will be the one to even finance those that will be contesting, doing certain things for them. So how do you want to punish your financier that made your election seamless? And you know quite all right that this is not right. And that's why I always say, where is our value proposition? Where you feel ashamed that when they attach to you that you've stolen money, you keep your head under the tree and say, no, I don't want to. In fact, you'll be thinking of the generation unborn, what they will attach to your name. But these days is what is celebrated everywhere.
Once you have money.
Once you have money, you are the order of the day. It's not the gas bill. But those days, people will ask questions. We've seen instances where a child will bring something home and they put it to a pencil.
Yeah.
I know how they beat hell out of us. You bring somebody's pencil home, but these days when you even correct a child, you see a parent asking, do you know what it takes, what I actually went through to give back to this child? Beating up a teacher. Those days when we see our teacher, in fact, you pick to your heels. But these days we've seen students in primary school, in secondary school, engaging their teacher. So we must go back to the basis where we will be able to nurture, because when you say leaders are not created from the money, it's from the same society. And part of the things that they have learned as virtue or as value are what they are bringing to bear. Otherwise, if we have sanity the way we had it those days, where you are contented with the little that you have and you believe in your hard work. You know, there are things that we read those days in school where it encourages you to be smart at your work. These days, you know, they will tell you it's not about hard work, it's about smart work. Fine, you can go that direction, but what is smartness? By actually overriding someone and, you know, dipping hand into it.
They will clap for it. When somebody grab it, take it,
and run with it.
And you say
So you can see. So we must go back to the
somebody will manipulate to get whatever he's looking for, and will pay that person as being smart, as being a strategic.
Yes, a strategic.
Okay, so that is why we have all these things. For me, like I said, we are all in it, and if we want any change, you know, it's not only those in government or leadership. We all have to be. Everybody there, those who are not in leadership today, now they are just waiting for their time.
Yeah,
that's what I see. In fact, when you condemn people, you say like, you see this. Whenever government brings out any policy, once you benefit from that policy, for you that government is doing well. You will not even care whether or not that policy affects majority or not. Once you are a beneficiary, as far as you are concerned, as far as they are concerned, the government is the best.
Take your pick and excuse yourself from that.
And that's why you see some people who are traveling now saying praising the government.
Yeah, for the 50% slash.
As if that 50% is all.
It's forever. Well, that was actually a very interesting discourse, of course, and I think it's very important that as Nigerians we should come, bring our hands together, and all hands must be on deck to ensure that Nigeria becomes what we hope it will become. I'd love to say a very big thank you to Mr. Sheson Okunade for being part of our show today, and as usual, Barrister Tujad Abdulhamid for always being here with us. Thank you so very much, sir, for being part of the show today. And to our viewers, we'd love to say thank you so very much for being part of our show today. But please do remember to like, follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Enterprise TV 7. Press the notification bell so you get notified whenever we drop our contents. I'll see you tomorrow for yet another awesome time on Enterprise Morning. Happy holidays. I'm Henry Hikwebiki. Cheers.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.